Yeah, so the multi-cloud and hybrid cloud era, post-client server, created the end of the single throat to choke, the end of the single trusted advisor. You just don't hear that if you go to events anymore. Why? Because in those first 28 moments at the point of transaction, and then every 30 days forever, you've got on average 5 different partners at the table. And we now know the quantification of what they're doing. If it's a HubSpot deal, there's $5.80 over there that those partners are handling. If it's a Salesforce deal, it's $4.65. If it's a Google Cloud deal, it's $5.32 for every dollar. If it's a Microsoft deal, it's somewhere between 5 and 9. So we're starting to understand exactly what the ecosystem opportunity is and the 5 main partners that lead a customer from the very early stages to vendor selection through the transaction, whether they take the money or not. There's a more likelihood in the future that they're not going to take the money, and then every 30 days forever. So there is no more single throat to choke. And what you just saw, all these permutations, you're going to have to build your own network, your own ecosystem of partners that can handle the endpoints and can handle Linux and can handle your relationships with the hyperscalers and can handle the data and the automation and all the things, the compliance, the continuity, the security, all the things you need to do to run an environment, whether it's a 30-person shop or a 30,000-person shop, is going to take a group of friends to be able to come in and handle that layers of the stack.
And let me ask you this then. So does do the cloud offerings, whether Amazon or IBM or whoever it may be, Microsoft that's offering cloud solutions, it sounds like that doesn't automatically solve the problem either. Or does it?
Well, it consolidates a little bit of the complexity. We'll talk about marketplaces in a minute. But Microsoft, by the way, has grown at 51, 50, 50, 48, and 47% in all the quarters inside the pandemic with Azure. Google Cloud is growing at 46, year on year, quarter after quarter. AWS, the head of AWS, just got a nice promotion to take over for Jeff Bezos as he heads to space. So these companies are growing gangbuster inside a pandemic, and they're becoming part of the new distribution of bits versus atoms. And what you're going to see shortly is these companies' marketplaces aren't just about selling their own software and selling software on top of that. 6 on average get sold on top of every platform, but they're bringing in services partners as we speak. So instead of Google charging you $1 for their product, $1 for the 6 other things you're going to buy to secure it and make it compliant and other things, automate it, they're going to start charging you the whole $5.32 on enterprise credits. So they're going to be the front end of paying Accenture, the MSP, the marketing consultant, the ISVs. I mean, all the different 16 layers of people that are involved in that customer. The money is going to flow through Google and the marketplace. And that's what they're actively building the tools in this front end of the decade of the ecosystem to be able to handle. We think that 17% of this industry, $3.5 trillion that businesses and governments spend, will go through marketplace by the end of this year. That's up from single digits last year. It's growing. It grew more in 3 months last year than the last 10 years combined. We think that by the end of the decade, marketplaces are going to handle about 1/3 of this industry. And so this industry, by the way, is also doubling. It's 5% of GDP. It's going to 10% by the end of the decade. So we're talking about 30% of $7 trillion. These are big numbers. That's movement of money away from resale. Today, 64% of this industry, the $3.5 trillion, goes through resellers, goes through MSPs, goes through integrators, goes through, in a lot of cases, distribution. So where that's changing is that almost falls in half. So for every $2 today, it drops to $1 by the end of the decade. And those dollars start to shift to marketplace. And then the other third is a direct play.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to back up one bullet point in your document. Does this now speak to the trifurcated channel model, moving money away from distribution? Is that what you meant at that point? Or is that, you referenced the traditional gold, silver, bronze reseller model. maybe you could give us a little more on that particular point and whether it relates to what you've just been discussing.
Yeah, so it's actually two different things. One is this big trend that the movement of money changes. The way customers go and acquire hardware, software, and services changes fundamentally. Today, 64% of that is through some sort of resale channel supported by distribution. By the end of the decade, it'll be a third, a third, a third. A third through resale, down from 64 to 33. A third through marketplace, up from almost zero. And a third through direct, which will stay kind of flat. That is a changing of the guard. That's a changing of the way money flows. And then that changes everything else. When 64% of this industry today goes through others indirectly, there are gross to nets. And you know this from your past that, I sell at this price, into distribution, here's my list price, and everything in between is recorded financially as margin, front end margin and back end margin, of which I can swizzle to go and fund partners and education and training and co-marketing and enablement, all the things. So all that starts to change pretty significantly. That we're talking, again, $1 trillion of movement away from funding partners in the same way and distributors. So that funding is going to start to move into marketplaces. Some of it's going to move into direct to consumer, product-led growth models, usage-based, value-based models, subscription and consumption models. But programmatically, my point there was, as companies start to recognize this, when I said that Cisco and HP and Dell and IBM are taking hundreds of billions of dollars into subscription models, they're looking at their channels and they're announcing different channel programs that are funded differently. You'll see build, sell, and service models, a trifurcation that says, I need to build an influence channel. In those 28 digital moments, I need those people to be strong channel partners that gets the customer to the dance with Cisco. That's just as important as transacting, but when Cisco is fully subscription, that actual transaction is only the first 30 days with the customer. It's not $1 million RFP. It's not a big procurement-led thing. It's on a departmental credit card. And this land and expand strategy, which Cisco is moving into, now shifts to the right. If that product doesn't get adopted, we're going to lose that customer. It's like Netflix. You sign up for Netflix. If you don't watch it for a couple of months, you cancel it. So in a subscription model, Cisco is going to get measured like Netflix. How many subscribers? What's your churn rate? Kind of all SaaS-like measurements. So right. If I don't get adopted, if I don't get deeper integrated and sticky, if I don't become like the SAP that you just can't rip out no matter what in a company, I may threaten my long-term value, lifetime value of the customer, which I'm measured on. Third, every 30 days now, I got a big Cisco portfolio. I need partners out there selling Meraki and Umbrella and all the other acquisitions they're making every other day. I need this portfolio to be sold. I need our future innovation to be sold. I need this whole enrichment channel. So if I'm Cisco now, I'm looking at distribution in the middle, kind of going, yeah, the transaction is really important, but I think it's about 1/3 as important as before. Because if I don't get customers to the dance in this early digital journey, which distribution isn't helping me in those 28 points, because they're hidden right now.